this is the Global Digest think tank group. Why not you introduce to our audience what is your expertise?
Sure. First of all, it's an honor that you have invited me to be a part of this strategic program. And it's a privilege for me to be a part of this international platform where there is a place created for exchange of our philosophy, exchange of our expertise. And I think, John, you are doing a great job. And this is a great privilege to be a part of. And of course, I have seen just lately a few of your podcasts, and I am looking forward to explore more of it. And well, I'm Mona Lisa. I come from northeast of India, belonging to a state called Nagaland, and currently I'm also teaching the postgraduate student in the university. We call it as Nagaland University, for many years now, for a decade, in fact. And I am from the School of Social Science in the Department of Political Science. And I have done my master's in political science, but I have just submitted my thesis on it's a part of India's foreign policy called as India's Act East policy. Actually, it started as India's Look East policy, and now it is under the government of the Honorable Prime Minister, uh, Mr. Modi. It is called as Act East policy. So that's my area, and specifically, it's about how this policy is relevant for a small state called Nagaland, because Nagaland, the entire stretch of Northeast border, geographical border shares with Myanmar. In fact, shares with the Southeast Asian countries. It's about 98% of Northeast geographical region is having neighboring countries with international countries. And 2% of her geography is with our own country, India, because of the Siliguri corridor. So geographically, definitely, Northeast is strategic. And when we come back to my state, it is neighboring Myanmar. So the concern, the objective of the study is, therefore, if this policy, Act East policy, is meant looking towards the East as a part of India's foreign policy, does this northeastern state have anything to do with it? That's my quest towards the research. And if that is the case, I want to start from my state called Nagaland. So exactly the relevance of the policy in regards to Northeast and Nagaland is my expertise or my research.
Northeast and the as you said, right, the border with Myanmar and also Northeast as border with China. So in 1960, 62, do you have any idea about the conflict between India and China at the time?
1962 war. It's a Indo-Chin war, we call it. And I think that was one war that India was badly defeated. And to make the story short, it's all about the relation. Actually, Indo-Chin relation and Indo-Myanmar relation is actually, Myanmar definitely followed a closed door policy for a very long time. But that does not have anything to do with a great nation like China.
Right.
Because Myanmar geographically is in between China and India. And so the entire idea is China in 1962, the idea was to invade India. And in regards to
invaded?
excuse me?
Why invaded?
Oh, actually, see, it has got two perspectives, economy and politics. I would like to put it as that as the most simplest reason of invasion, economy and politics. And for a very long time, of course, when it comes to international relation, China and India, they have a cordial relation. They do have bilateral relation and they do have a understanding, but oftentimes they are also the greatest rival when it comes to economy. And it was in 1962, it was not so obvious otherwise. It's not so obvious at that point of time. It was not obvious. However, the entire reason is they wanted, see, again, the Northeast region becomes a very strategic, it's because also China is very interested in Tibet.
Right.
And India, definitely, Tibet is within the geography, the political dispensation of India. So strictly speaking, China cannot invade Tibet, but China, that's the interest. And so, yeah, so that's how they invaded India. Another reason for it, beside the bigger picture, and therefore Tibet happens to be a very I don't know whether our international politics and foreign policy is aware of it, but Tibet is a small region, but it is a very flourishing region. And the most peaceful region in Northeast, small portion of Tibet. And India, definitely, it's India, part of geographically, but China, very close to China, definitely. And therefore, they speak Chin in Tibet. Most of them, they even speak the language of Chin and they have the similar facial resemblance with Chin. So it is so difficult to identify. There are some socio-economic proximity, definitely. However, Tibet has been for a very long time a bone of contention. One reason for the invasion, beside economy and politics. And that was a big blow for India because India was badly defeated. And if China won the battle, credit goes to Northeast India.
I see.
Because Northeast is a strategic region. It's a hilly region, and the Chinese, for them, it is a good hideout for them, a good adventure for them, a good expedition for them. Chinese were more prepared to make an expedition in those thick forests, whereas India, on the other hand, we Indians, at that point of time, we were not. Chinese, they also know how to, tread inside the jungle, but we Indians, on the other hand, we were not ready at that point of time. That is another reason I think India got badly defeated. So after that, in Northeast becomes something that India is so interested ever since.
Become attention by central China, central government in India, probably. So, I mean, at the time, 1962, you have already state, Nagaland state, right? And Manipur state, and Arunachal also state at the time, right? And
Yes.
I don't know detail about Arunachal, and I don't think Northeast state, Arunachal or Nagaland or Manipur, any state, your own local defense force or self-defense force to protect enemy, any kinds of animal. Is there any local defense force or is there sufficient, I mean, to defend yourself at the time in Nagaland?
You mean during the 60s or
at the
now.
time during 1962.
So how prepared Nagas were
Right,
during that time?
your uh, capacity to defend.
Okay, Nagas, we don't have any military trainings. We don't have any arms and ammunitions. We don't have any special schools or institute for such kind of that uh big kind of warfare. We don't have those. Naga is a poor region. But one thing about the Nagas is they are known for being a warrior. A warrior. That's in the culture.
Right,
And due to the difficult, Nagas are normally nomads. So going from one river to another, from one region to another, from one mountain to another, our forefathers, that by default has groomed the Nagas both physically and mentally. And therefore, though the Nagas, I'm talking about during the 60s, though they were not given formal training, definitely even now we don't have actually, no formal training, for example, in shooting, holding a gun and shooting, for example. And yet, one of the best shooters you will find in Nagaland because Nagas are hunters. So by default, they're so good in their target, number one. Number two, as I said, Nagas are nomads. Physically, they are very fit. They gather food. They cultivate fields. They climb difficult terrains. They climb mountains. That has made them physically fit. And therefore, such kind of invasion, Nagas, the kind of preparedness that we talk about, the strategic and military preparedness for any kind of small or big warfare that we know today, Nagas, even till today, we don't know anything on this. However, if at all you say or you ask how prepared Nagas are, they are always prepared. By birth, by virtue of the kind of geography, location where they are born, they are raised, that has groomed them to be warriors. So, which I will, of course, I agree, that kind of warrior fitness is reducing now due to lots of modernity or technology. I don't know what you can call anything, but during the 50s, the 60s, and the 70s, they were the best warriors. So they were prepared. If that you ask me that, they were prepared.
so
So
they prepare without guns or without any facility, I mean any weapon.
they have sashes. They are very good. They are good in their traditional tools, like how would I put it? I don't know how to put the names, but then they have their dows. We call it dows. I don't know that which knife kind of thing. That one they have. They have their arrows. They have their gun. They don't have that modern gun that you and I understand today. That time they have their own. They make gunpowders, and they have their own indigenous gun.
Right.
But that indigenous gun, only a few of them can make use of it.
I mean
Not everybody,
the indigenous gun can shoot only one time one bullet, you know. So
exactly.
you cannot shoot continuously, you know, that's I mean
And
traditional weapon and those
hmm,
indigenous gun were not really sufficient or not capable to defend big Chinese army. That is in terms of weapon is uh, it's not possible.
Cannot match with Chinese weapon.
Right.
It's unmatchable. It's unmatchable. Definitely, you are right. So that is also used only a few of them. As I said, they just go the way of indigenous method of warfare in terms of using their hands, using some kind of indigenous tools. In fact, they are more skilled in that. And but if we call how prepared they are to face the Chinese, for example, of course, they will be badly defeated if that is the case, because they don't have those kind of modern ammunitions, modern warfares, modern tools, or even for that matter, indigenous tools of Chinese is still not matchable even today with I'm talking about Northeast, my land, my state.
By that time,
So
Indian army did not supply any weapon or any supporting material to Naga
that
local people.
yeah, I wish I can give you that. Maybe I don't have much idea on that, but
So
uh,
Chinese army enter deeply until which location?
me
Chinese army reach to Kohima.
definitely. Why not?
I see.
Kohima, Konoma,
I see.
Konoma.
Not to Manipur, probably.
Oh, see again. There are the geography of Northeast is very porous that time and even now. So they can come from any part of Northeast, any region. I have no doubt about that. That's not a problem. I don't know which route they took to reach Kohima. If they want to come to Kohima, they can come via Manipur. They can come first to Manipur, then towards Kohima. There is also one route. They can either come from the other side, from Pangsha area or from Longwa area. That is also another jungle route. So I have no idea which route they took, but if they want to come from Manipur, there is a route which preferably is a better route. And if they want to come from Nagaland side, there are a lot of other options.
And there was probably helpless, right? Local people were helpless. How did you see opinion of the local people, Naga peoples or Arunachal peoples or Manipur people, how they feel at the time Chinese came into Northeast India?
Okay, it will be hypothetical. In other words, my view on this particular question can be hypothetical because it will be purely my assumption, not really, may be true, may not be true. So if that is okay with you, I can give my hypothetical opinion, how the Nagas feel, how the Mizos, how the Métis or the Manipur, yeah, the tribals in Manipur or the people in Manipur, or how does the Wangchos or the tribals in Arunachal. So that is purely my hypothetical. Maybe I can give one opinion on that. First of all, most tribals in Northeast, we are warriors by heart. I'm not talking about only Nagas in Nagaland. Most tribals in Northeast, we have a warrior mindset, number one. Number two, that does not mean that we want two big countries, or like say India or another country like China, to be in conflict. We really don't want that. Whether in the 50s, 40s, 60s, 70s, or even in today, in 2024, 25, we don't desire for especially big countries to be conflicting to the extent of going for a war. Not at all. Number two. And number three, if at all there is a war, And if the tribals, now I'm talking about the entire stretch of Northeast India, if the tribal, because they are the one who borders Myanmar, Bhutan, and China. So then the tribals in Northeast, if at all there is a war, definitely we will do everything to defend ourselves. So those three things I can only say as an hypothetical opinion on your question.
What about right now? How about defense strategy? Is there any Indian Army base and any defense strategy in Northeast, or any Chinese second invasion? Or what about cooperation with local people? Any Indian Army supply weapon, or any local people cooperation or any defense strategy?
You are talking about Northeast again.
Right.
So if it is Northeast or my state, it's all the same. So defense
Start
strategy.
with your state. You can start explaining from your state. Nagaland. You can start with
Yeah,
Nagaland.
definitely. Mm. The geopolitical scenario of Northeast and Nagaland specifically, interesting. It's interesting. Northeast is one of the most loved region for our country, India. Northeast was not, before 1991, of course, Northeast was not in the limelight, to be more specific, but later, after the Chin War, I mean, like after, the 1962, 63, after this, and the end of Cold War. For us, we Nagas, we call the Chinese people as Chin. So, I think it's better.
Chin
It's
name,
better for me. I use China.
right? Chin name in Burma, you know.
There is a Chin in Chui is there, Lahe is there, Hampo is there in Myanmar, I guess. India government, they have now, after the 1990s, to be very specifically, they have considered Northeast as a very lovable region, as a strategic region, and a region which they felt that they have neglected for a very long time,
Right.
because of the geography also. It's Northeast is a landlocked region, so somehow there's so many things we are disconnected, otherwise, even with our own country, the big India. So now the present picture is, since Northeast became strategic because she geographically borders with many international countries. And the greatest landmass is with Myanmar.
Right.
The biggest border that Northeast have is with Myanmar, the biggest landmass border, I mean. And of course, then goes with other countries, China or any other, in the South and the Southeast Asian countries. So in order to now, once Myanmar has opened her open door policy in the 90s, and now she wanted to find a new friend after the end of Russia. So started to focus on this South and Southeast Asian countries. And if that is the case, they also wanted to see that Northeast, oh, by the way, I'm sure you're aware of this, Northeast India is also known to be a region that is very well known to be a separatist movement, insurgent movement. That's how we are known, mostly. And so that is also another concern for the government, our government in India. That's a concern. Another concern is geography. Another concern is the development of a Northeast region, that she has to be developed. So these are the factors that India started to make friendship with the countries in the East. And so when you come to the defense sectors or the army, we do have army personnel, central police at the borders. At the borders, we do have that. I'm talking about, if I talk about my state, we do also have uh, military position at the borders, even a small state like ours at the borders. And the reason for that is for the militants. I'm talking about the tribal, the Naga militants, the militants in Northeast. So in order mm, uh, to monitor and to check the movement of this insurgent. However, that is the strategic or the defense interpretation of protecting the borders. That is one. Secondly, this military position at the borders, be it China or be it within our own Indian state, like say, especially northeastern state, the borders in northeastern states, uh, this military who are on duty, detailed for uh, to protect the borders, they are the best comrades for the villagers at the borders. They are not a threat for the community at the borders, for the Nagas, for the Métis, for the Mizos, for the Arnachalis, for anybody. They are like families. I mean, when it comes to the community at the borders, but for the official positioning of detailing them at the border is for security, for peace and harmony, that nothing happens, protect the borders. That's one way of looking at the geopolitical arrangement of our country. And if you wanted to know more about China India border, um, I don't really know what is the current arrangement of China and India military or defense arrangement, and what are the bilateral agreement, and what are the geopolitical dynamics between China and India. I think I won't be able to give you more information on that.
You want to say those information are not publicly available, or the military keep the secret of this defense between India and China and India-China border in Northeast cases? This is not publicly available.
I guess so, because
And it will
as
be
of me,
difficult. Then it will be difficult to, research it.
I guess so. I guess so because even up till now, even at this point, I didn't come across such kind of easily available of high intensive information available for public consumption. I haven't come across that. So I guess they can be given that kind of information, or can be given by those who are in charge of that. So as for me, and I guess anyone, we haven't come across available at the public platform. As of now, I haven't come across such kind of information for public consumption.
Right. So it will be sensitive information, and maybe it's not easily available, right, by
I think it,
central
yeah,
government. Or I think Northeast is mainly in terms of security and military is directly controlled by central government, I guess.
you're right. You're right.
So the state role is not much in defense and the uh, security issue from Chinese side or from India side, from Burmese side, any border security. Maybe local state has not much uh, they don't give any responsibility, or there's not much role for state, local state.
It makes sense when you say that. It makes sense. Um, we also have an act called Armed Forces Special Power Act. We call it AFSPA. You have heard about that? So the government of India has issued this act for some of the states, for the state of Nagaland. Let me not go to other states. So Armed Forces Special Power Act,
It means restricted.
which means exclusive power is given to the armed forces, the central armed forces. In other words, they were given power to for any group or anyone indulging in disrupting the peace of the state. Then these armed forces, they have the right to shoot at sight.
It's unlimited acts. It should be 1 year, 2 year, 5 year. It's not.
Yes, there is a term. Yes, you are right. You are right. There is a term, but it get revised.
All the time.
Till now, yes.
For how many years already started? And
As I think I have not have that year as of now, but it has been there since pretty long. I think it's there since before the China and India war, I guess.
so you said the Armed Force Act. You mean it is already started before 1960, which means it's already 70 years.
Yeah, I if I'm not wrong, it's since 1958.
Then it's already 60 years.
I guess so.
So
Yeah.
literally, which means Nagaland is 60 year under military rule in India.
Actually, it's not a military rule. Actually, it's in only in this disturbed area, not in everything.
Not the whole
No,
state.
not the whole state. Only they can use it only if some parts of the state is disturbed. If not, no, they cannot use the power. I mean, yeah.
Let's see.
If they found some parts of the state to be disturbed, yeah, so then the power is given to the military.
Even the acts, it can be applied in Manipur or Mizoram state.
Yeah, it is in Assam, it is in Manipur, and it is in Arunachal, including Nagaland, 4. So in four
State
of
have such kind of power.
yes.
I see. So it's been introduced 60 years ago, and as you said, it can be applicable by case by case in different locations in that 4 area, but that 4 state, but not the other state cannot apply that act, right? In central India or not southern India, you cannot apply that one. I see.
The act is only for these 4 states only in Northeast.
I see. So that is military power. Then if that axis exists in 1958, then Chinese invaded in 1962. Why not Indian Army? They have power. If any invader, they can apply that Army Acts, they can shoot and they can fight China. Why that Indian Army could not use and defend when Chinese came into until Nagaland?
That's a good question. I may not have the fulfill your question 100%, but if I'm allowed to give my opinion, then I would say the act is meant for only four states in Northeast. The act is not beyond Northeast. Of course, there is a point when you say if they come within the territory of Northeast, then there is a point in a question, why not use AFSPA? Because they are already supposed, they are already Northeast.
They
Why
already
don't use,
in Naga.
suppose, suppose if they're already in these four regions, suppose, why don't they use AFSPA? That's a good question. I don't have an answer for that, why they don't use, but to my understanding, the the initial arrangement, the clause of this act is only disturbance within the state. This is what I understand. And why they didn't use, I don't have an answer for that.
I mean, that within within domestic matter they can use. If they can use in domestic matter, it should be able to use definitely outside invader, outside disturbance is much danger than domestic uh, problem. So I
It
mean,
makes sense. Makes sense.
even
You're
even
right.
without even without this act, there should be there should be Indian constitution or Indian's army regulation or any law will be applied if any invasion, that how army should be reaction and how security should be respond. It is
Hmm.
sensitive security, issue. So it means India government, Indian army failed to defend the border and the people in Northeast. You can say like that.
Yes, yes. I think we can say that. Um, why India could not make use of its military forces, be it within the arrangement of this act, or be it the bigger force, the central force, and why it did not match with China. There may be so many reasons for that. And China in the past and even today, they are far ahead as far as military preparedness is concerned. China, their military preparedness is very high. I wouldn't be wrong when I say this. If I have to compare it with my country, of course, today India is also on one of the top when it comes to defense and armed personnel preparedness. But that time, 60s and 62, uh, China was far better in her military preparedness. And of course, another reason is China has got more numbers. India has got less numbers. I mean, that could be another, I would say, reason for badly defeating in the hands of the Chinese
You mean
army.
number in Northeast India or the number in Northeast India or just
Actually, it has
the whole country population or military population? Because now
yeah,
Indian
huh,
population is higher than Chinese population.
China. Now, of course, India is on the top. Huh, that I'm talking about army, the preparedness of armed personnel's preparedness, also the number. China was much way ahead, huge in number, army, armed defense personnel. Whereas India, in comparing to China, it was lesser in the army personnel, the defense personnel. So I'm talking about the trained armed personnel of India with that of the Chinese. I mean, in the 60s. So that could be another reason that has led to um, the defeat maybe. Um, if you talk about India's defense forces and military preparedness, during the 60s, it has nothing to do with Northeast. Though we are Indians, I mean, if we have to see which part of India gave the highest number of military support and armed personnel that now we have in Northeast, that time we don't. We didn't. We didn't have armed personnel. We don't. Now we have a lot of army recruitment in Northeast. It wasn't the time.
I see.
So if you have to ask about Northeast armed personnel, how did they contribute during India-China war? I mean, that would be in a non-defense communication, we can say, but from defense point of view, during the 60s, Northeast did not have that kind of, was not a part of, we don't have trained people to be a part of the armed defense of Indian armed forces. So, yeah, that's one thing. Another thing is, you were talking about the generals. The generals in China were way more experienced than the generals in India in the 1962.
So
And another point of if you wanted to, if I can add more, of all this reason, one biggest reason that has given such a victory for China over India is Chinese. They were having that, they were so skilled, as I've said, in adventure. They were so skilled in, you know, making the way through all the rough terrain. They were so skilled in mapping the mountains. They were so skilled in mapping the forest. Not only mapping, but also they were physically trained how to go through those rough terrains. But at that point of time, the Indian armed forces, we were also trained. We were also, but Indian armed forces were in the 60s, we were well prepared for international warfares, but they were not well prepared to go through Northeast in the rough, the forest, the mountains, no road, nothing, thick forest. So that happens to be the last nail for the Chinese victory in 62.
I see. That's why I'm thinking it should be, more effective to cooperate with local state and local people to defend any Chinese invasion. So
You're right.
I
Yeah.
was asking you why is not uh, Indian Army cooperate or support or any weapon supply to local military, I mean the local state people, but you said there is not such cooperation, right? Maybe India, Myanmar border is, I mean, for security for India Army is not danger compared to China, but uh, a lot of long border between India and Myanmar. And also most Northeast state, Mizoram, Manipur, Nagaland, all are uh, relatively and culturally exchanged from the other side of Myanmar, right? Even though security are not danger, maybe some insurgent and a lot of violence are happening. I don't know, as you said, Indian policy, act is policy. But India government side also not much a big project or a big uh, invested. We don't see much Indian poor project or money for Northeast for ag is policy, not much big infrastructure or anything like that.
For any development to take place, first of all, the region should be peaceful. Secondly, when we talk about this development of connectivity, primarily it's about connectivity, connecting India with the East Asian countries and the South and the Southeast Asian countries, the entire concept. If that is the case, it is not only one country, but even the country across the border has to play an equal role. Let me give one example. Um, there is a village in Nagaland which is identified by the central government to have a BTC, that is Border Trade Center. There is also a place called Avanku. Let me start with that. A village in my state called Avanku. It is in the district of Pag, and it is also identified to be a village as a border trade center. So the government of India has already sanctioned a good amount of money for infrastructure like road. They have done it. Took so much time, definitely, but at least they have done it to the point of uh, Avanku, that's the last village in the district of Pet that immediately borders with Lahe in Myanmar, and Leschi too, some 20 kilometers and 25 kilometers. That's the nearest village from Myanmar that borders towards India. And so it's done, but the idea is to connect uh, India with Myanmar because the shortest route is from northeast. Otherwise, the government of India can always connect with Southeast Asian countries and East Asian countries. There are other routes which is far developed. They can go from the south. Sea routes are there, for example. Why would they come through northeast, which is called as a disturbed area or whatever they call it? So they could have connected through the south, through seaports. But the cost effective is through northeast. Cost effective because it's just immediate. So the idea was to promote connectivity across the border because geographically that's the nearest. So Northeast was given that privilege. So the road is completed till Avanku, but nothing. The reason is from the other side of the border, Lahe, Leshi, and even Hempo, for example, and Tui village, for example. These are some distance I forgot. These are very near proximity to Nagaland. Roads from the government of Myanmar should also come because India can make only till the border. India have no right to go beyond the border for construction. I mean, technically speaking. So connectivity is still one-sided only, for example. So India must expedite their bilateral relationship. India is also ready to sponsor, but I think something has to be done there. That's one reason. Why not development is also uh, because of the insurgents.
Uh, you said the connectivity and insurgents. The thing is, the other side, Lahe, and those are also Nagaland, Naga people. Maybe
Definitely.
you can speak same language from Nagaland or from Lahe people. I mean, as you mentioned, there is identified for border trade center, and those India has plan or India has policy The thing is not implementing, and no funding. Funding is first thing. So how much India government already funded and how much they may already budget if there is a policy in order to implement. So there is no funding and no implementation and no development and no infrastructure in Nagaland or other Northeast state. That which means you don't have development in Northeast. So, so
I will
if,
accept that.
if,
When it
if
comes to
not
develop,
development, if not development, local people will see the country is not developed and insurgent uh, duty will be increased, so they will be more willing to insurgent. If Nagaland is very prosperous and rich state, I think insurgent will be disappear slowly, you know. So that is also another theory. So that not just Nagaland, India consider itself as big power. They is considered major power. They may no need to wait from the other side, Myanmar side. They can develop fast India side completely, even until Myanmar side. India can fund if they really want to do complete a set of project. They can build the whole uh, connection line from India to Myanmar to Thailand to other South Asia, until uh, inside Myanmar, India should able to build if they are major power. But uh, as we talk about funding is probably budget is never they have done the budget.
um, I really appreciate your perspective. I think that's a very good way of looking at it. Development automatically, insurgent will just disappear in due course of time. So is there a funding crunch? I think that's a good question. I don't know how much fund has gone for which project, whether there is a shortage of funds or whether there is more funds. I wouldn't like to comment on that, but definitely what has gone wrong, why there is no development in Northeast and especially Nagaland. Actually, just 2 days back, I just reading the latest statistics of India. Nagaland is still the poorest state in India, one of the poorest state in India as per the country GDP. So I think you get the picture now. So I think things has to change its perspective. India, Nagaland, I definitely will accept that. If it is from GDP, definitely India is still on the poor sectors. Sorry, Nagaland is still poor. And most part of Northeast, I agree with it because of road, because of regular power supply, we still suffer from there because of water, because of sanitation, because of so GDP counts from that. These are the indicators. I agree. We don't have roads. We really don't have good roads, for example. So there are reasons why there is no development in Nagaland. I would say that financial crunch, if you ask me personally, it's not a financial crunch. It is not shortage of budget. It is not that there is no framework of budget. We do have a ministry called donor in India, development of northeastern region. It's a full-fledged ministry at the center, for example. Now, why no development? There are different perspectives to look at it. If that is the point, like why no development in Nagaland? I think it has to do with the stakeholders, the state stakeholders. It can be my state, any state in Northeast, and also the stakeholders at the center in Delhi. That could be one way of looking at it. Another way of looking at it is the story at the grassroots and the report prepared at the center. It is oftentimes mismatch. I repeat, the realities at the grassroots of the state and Northeast and the report on the table at the center. Oftentimes, it is not matching. Why? It is a long story again. And a third point, I would say, why no development? This is all with no other, see, I have no bias with anyone. This is my personal observation, being the child or the daughter of this soil. Another reason is accountability, lack of, or I would say, I would rather put it this way, the state is still in need of effective accountability. So, and conducive coordination between different development projects, financial houses or institutions, and the different projects sanctioned or designed for the state. There should be a proper coordination. I see that there's a big gap of improvement. So that's another reason. And of course, it goes down everything. They say that how can we develop if it is when the insurgents are asking for money, when the insurgents they are asking for some percentage. How do we even come and invest in your state? It makes sense. Investors don't want to come to Nagaland because they were scared. I mean, they said, what do we get when we have to give some of our income or our percentage to the insurgents? So it is kind of a vicious cycle. So these are some very opened factors for the slow growth and development in Northeast, especially in Nagaland. So I would definitely make it very clear now, it is not short of budget. No, not at all. To me personally, not short of budget. It is not because the design is wrong. I don't think so. There is a good budgetary framework, but that's not enough. There's something beyond that. So the community, the people at the rural sectors, I think that should be taken into consideration as stakeholders, I guess. That could be one way of breaking the slow progress of development.
Right. I mean, the things you maybe argue because of unmatching central and local state, anything's unmatched and not smoothly going, or whatever corruption or whatever, mishandling, whoever mistake in India side, the result is undevelopment in Northeast, and as you said, in Nagaland state. But the other side, China side, even though they are not democracy, they can able to make develop. The thing people want to see what is happening, what you can make it happen. They don't see any other things, they just want to see what you make it happen. So if India side cannot make it happen, people see Chinese side, they make it happen. If next border, if people prosper, nice infrastructure development in Chinese side, it can be game changer. I mean, the local people maybe fear the deal can be changed and they will prefer China. How do you see so far Arunachal or Nagaland, the people, they feel they want to live in Chinese side, or they still want to remain in India side? How's your observation? How do you see?
For now, um, Identity politics in Arunachal and Nagaland. Of course, it's a most very hot kind of topic for academia, for any kind of dialogues, identity politics. But if you ask my personal, what I see among the people in Arunachal and the people in Nagaland at this point of time is more importantly beyond identity is uh, giving the real people are craving for real democracy.
They prefer democracy.
See, please, I hope, I wish I can make it clear. I hope I'm making clear. India is one of the leading country to be known as embracing, as celebrated because of democracy. But you're talking about China a while back. It's not democratic, but I find their people are more democratic. Whereas India, it is one of the most celebrated principle is democracy. But I see democracy in practice is uh, so much of rigidity here and there. So uh, the people in Arunachal or the people in Nagaland, at this point of time, they want to experience the true concept of democracy. They are not concerned about whether I want to be in China, whether I want to be here, continue to be India. That's not important. The important thing is let me experience the true sense of democracy.
Right.
This
So
is what I see at this point of time.
right. So India side, namely, they are verbally good in democracy and a lot of news and a lot of talking, but they are failed to do any practical things and practical implementation like development and even, just building one road from, you said, Nagaland to the Burmese border cannot do. It means uh, such kind of uh, small thing, even they cannot implement. People may not big expectation from India side, even the namely democracy. So it seems people want more practical, experience thing, as as we said, what it made it happen, in Nagaland and also, but China is made it happen, in
They
Chinese
say
side.
and they do.
So that
Yeah.
is the thing different from India. And I don't know, Nagaland and Arunachal, you have any relative or any connection people to people in Chinese side, any tribe or any group? But Nagaland has many relative and tribe in Myanmar side, right?
Yes. Actually, our extended family is beyond in Myanmar. Actually, we don't consider Myanmar as another country in the borders. It's just a part of India. The border in Myanmar, villages in border in Myanmar, they feel that they're Indians, and the villages in Indian border towards in the northeast, they feel that we are belonging to the Burmese, the Myanmaris. So, because
Ah,
intermarriages is there, joint, they have festivals together. They used to go to the, because mostly the rural, it's rural in the borders, so rural tribals in northeast, we source of our livelihood is agriculture. We go to the field and we cultivate. So
right.
uh yeah, so the our family at the border in Myanmar and the family at the border of India, they used to go to one another field. They sing, they dance, they cultivate. They no longer consider that they belong to a different country. They feel that they are just one part, they belong, that's just one country. So that is affinity is very strong.
Right. Ancient time, there is one region, yeah, all are in same region. They live together, they survive together. I mean, they have their own traditional way of living, the traditional lifestyle. Chieftain or village had ancient time living and ruling lifestyle. Only after British colonized and after uh, independence of India, they just draw the border. It cut the community in the middle. Just
Yes.
70 years ago, something like that. So that's happened in India side and Burmese side. Many ethnic groups. I don't know in Chinese side. How did you see any Naga in Chinese side?
But we do have a lot of Wangchos in Arunachal that immediately borders China.